Okay, everybody. Hi there. Welcome back to our stream. It's been a while. I'm Genesee from Good Shepherd Entertainment, and it has been 6 months since we talked. And I'm here with Carlos Bordeo to talk about the Eternal Cylinder and share some great news with you. So, Carlos, in case anyone's forgotten our faces, can you can you tell them who you are and your role at Ace?
Hello. I'm Carlos Bordeo. I'm one of the co-founders of Ace Team. I'm actually the director for this project, and it was kind of like this. The project started out like a personal project of mine. For those who don't know a little bit about the history of the game, that was quite a long time ago. But yeah, basically been in charge of the management of the project and many other things.
Yes, we give Carlos all the accolades and all the blame for everything that happens, basically.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
Here you go. Okay, so those of you who are just joining us, we had some real fun last month with an ARG because we wanted to tease the stuff we're about to tell you, and you guys did a great job playing along. It took no time at all for you to come up with any of the images that we were sharing and figure all that out. A little bit longer for some of the text, but thank you guys for playing, and that was really fun. Hopefully, the clues that we gave you will give you like a preview of what we're going to share today. So before we get to answers on a lot of this stuff, I want to share the contest winners. We asked you last week to draw creatures from an unusual angle that are already in the game and no trebums. So here are some of the highlights. I'm going to go to them. So the first one was really very clever. Mr. Mastman did these glick balls, really cute faces and all sorts of like weird angles, but that was wonderful. I love this one. Did you see this, Carlos?
Yeah, it's really nice. I like the whole sort of biology like germ thing.
Oh.
That is a little bit the inspiration for the originals. I think this creature was designed by mixing kind of a dog's face and a germ or something like that. I don't really remember exactly, so I like the angle of it looking like cells and stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so second place is Frisco the Trebum. This is their creature, their ocular orthopod. They
Mm,
did like based on, as you can see, but a sideways version. Like you don't see that a lot in game. You see them walking towards you or away from you. This is a
yeah.
cool sideways version, so I like that.
Yeah. They are pretty thin from that angle.
They do look like that. Okay, and then this is our cube of cheese. Is the person who made it, and I love this. Like, it's very simple, but his expression is just wonderful.
Yeah, I know which ones are those. That's the face they actually have when they're jumping and they're gonna attach themselves onto the poor Tripum's head. So that's the last thing they see before they get mind control.
Well, that sounds a lot less cute. A lot less cute now. Okay. So, first thing that we're announcing is if those of you who are creeping on our Steam page probably already know this, on October 13th, The Eternal Cylinder is coming to Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series S and X. As we celebrate our 1 year anniversary. So, we have a new fancy 1 year logo for you to look at. And we would love for you guys to share this news. And of course, if you have it already, then great. If you haven't, please share it with your friends. And hopefully, you guys can pick it up and continue on this journey with us. So, the first thing we're going to reveal are these two new creatures that are coming to this world. So, Carlos, I'm going to show some videos of this, and you can talk us through the first one. So, the first one we call internally the Wrecker, but I'm going to need you to pronounce this one for us.
uh, the names come from Jonah, so I'll hold him accountable for the weird name. So the Voodoo Grop is the what we call the Wrecker origin. I think one thing that is very interesting to mention about both the creatures is these are two creatures that were left out from the original design of the game, the document. These were planned and they didn't make it on time. We didn't make it on time to actually get them in the game. So I was always left with this kind of like, we wanted these creatures to be in there, and unfortunately, we didn't have enough time. So it's been great to finally get them realized and finished for the game. So, and I also think they add interestingly to the ice and desert biome, which were the ones which were maybe missing a little bit more variety of creatures. This one I always love because the whole, I think it's pretty clear why we called it the wrecker. It's basically this nasty, furry, like sort of charging enemy that uses this big ball on attached to a rope on its tail, and they're kind of aggressive. They move in formations of a few of them. In this case, it's just one, but they tend to just charge at the treble and try to swing their tails at them.
Of course, they want to know. The chat wants to know if they drop any mutations.
No, neither of the two new creatures drop any specific mutations.
Okay. Do you want to read the official Latin descriptor and Latin word here for this?
Urozun actinostomus. Again, this is all Jonas. For me, it's the wrecker. The placeholders' names have stuck with me for so long that sometimes I have a difficulty remembering the official names.
There you go. Okay, so it says it uses its tentacled mouth to search for food in the snow and is in fact a type of polyp colony that exists in an endosymbiotic relationship with the Budigrap, extending all the way to its brain and stomach. So wow, it's actually kind of like taken over by this weird, like the ants do when they take over bodies and force you to do things. That's really creepy. It's so cute, and now it's creepy.
One interesting thing that you are seeing here in the video, and I think it's a change to the game. You'll notice that there we have this kind of mini boss enemy, what was the name, the Frozen Skull, and it's just wandering around there on the level. And this is actually because in the original game, this frozen creature would only appear in its boss section. It would never come out at all. I think maybe there were very, 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 very unusual instances in which it could pop. But we actually did some fixes to the code in which the random element, the randomizing part of the environment had some issues which we fixed, and that it allowed us to actually have the possibility of having a little bit more diversity in terms of monster placement in the game.
Ah, awesome. You can see here, I was trying to lure the frozen Scala over to the Budigrap to see if they would fight, but Budigrap wasn't having it. It was running away.
No, he's going to be afraid. He's
he was afraid.
Not really that keen on it going up against the frozen Scala.
Okay. So our next one is as affectionately known as the Crusher. Hang on.
The Cruncher.
Cruncher. For crunching. There he goes over there.
Crunching, but eventually that's just the name. It doesn't really crunch anything much. Because the design for the design for this one changed more. If you were to look at the original design of the creature and then you were to look at what finished up we ended up doing in the game, it changed much more. The other one, we stayed much more faithful to the original design of the previous creature, and in this case we felt we wanted to do something new. So this one has this like spikes coming from the back, and we felt looks like what's it gonna do in a desert? So basically, how does this creature behave in the desert? What's it gonna do? So this whole idea about having like a brush, like comb through the desert came out. And we realized that the creature was pretty interesting the way it looked if we reversed it. We basically turned it around, which is not something that was in the original design, but something that came later. So what he does is basically he spots the Trebum, he then basically transforms, and he basically charges at you, but he can't really run for a very long time in his backwards position. You can actually hear the creature kind of losing its air and getting tired, and there it's already kind of like it can't continue. So it's kind of a predator. It's aggressive also. In both cases we wanted creatures that were more interesting for players to interact with. So
very cool. That's why I thought it was Crusher, because he flips over and just tries to land right on you.
Yeah. It was Cruncher because in the original design, I think it was meant to be a creature that with his hands would crunch stuff, but it ended up being too like many things that when you envision them when you're thinking about the game end up not working all that well when you look at the scale of things in the game. So basically, for instance, any creature you're going to make it maybe hold something in its hand, and that's a really small area in the screen in the scale of things. Maybe if you're playing a game where it's in small spaces, you can sort of make those sort of things work out better. But the internal cylinder is so open-ended, so huge. So any interaction that was going to be like based on the hands was going to be relatively difficult to for players to actually see it. So that's I think one of the main reasons why it became something completely different.
It's very cool, this whole permanent desert idea. Do you want to read its Latin stuff and tell more about it in the Jonas way?
Okay, so the Gagupistopithecus stenosaurus. So yeah, again, from the description, you can see it's the unusual hunting method is what makes it the inverted locomotion with its spine on its back. It doesn't have any, if any, natural predators. It's pretty large. We did want to have two relatively bigger sized creatures for the new ones. If we would have done something really small, I think people would have maybe kind of not seen them.
No, it's
So,
impressive. Very impressive.
so the idea was to go for bigger creatures.
Cool. I like this story about it. It's a horror tale which teaches young Trebum the value of staying together and not straying from settlements. So
Yeah,
it's a nightmare for them. That's pretty neat.
yeah, it's a pretty ugly one. I'd say that's one of the uglier creatures in the game. And this is the fault of Andres. So he was not there. The snow one. I the original drawing was mine, and in the case of the Garukuk, it was from Andres. It's actually inspired by a little bit by a or the desert one. You can see like this kind of big thing that comes from the side of the heads.
What did
From
you say it was inspired by? You had like a stutter
an
there.
orangutan.
Oh, okay. Okay, I can see that. I could see that. Okay. And then the last thing we have, like on the new kind of front, is that there is a difference in the mutation of the pyrogenic trunk. So it now can set things on fire to deter creatures, most specifically in our practice, the Omnongrom. Can you tell a little bit about this and how I'm sure they're going to use this running around now?
Okay, so why the specific change to this very specific mutation? There's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that uh, the fire trunk. I'm going to call it fire trunk. It's easier. The fire trunk was one of the very first mutations we did in the game in the prototype when we were basically pitching the game. This is very old, and one of the things that it was interesting about it is that you would basically be able to burn foliage, and that part of the design it actually did exist in the previous version of the game. You can burn out a little bit of the pieces of grass and stuff, but it was supposed to basically scare the creatures. And as much as the function was there, it was very unimpressive, and it was one of those. I think it was one of the more notable mutations where people said, "This is kind of cool. Maybe I can do something else with it." And with experimentation, nothing really came out. So we knew we had to kind of correct that, and especially given that they're furry creatures, like creatures with hair, it made all the sense that they should catch on fire. So what this basically the big change here is that any of the creatures with a lot of hair on them, you can if you use the trunk enough on them, they eventually catch on fire, they run away and die. So basically a buff and also visual improvement for this specific mutation.
Very cool. Okay, so some tech stuff to go over a little bit for those who are on console or wanting to get console stuff. So the Series X and S and PS5 will be able to play in 4K at 60 frames per second, and the Series X and PS5 owners will have an additional option so they can play at 1080p with ray tracing. People on PC will have the ability to enjoy 4K at 60 FPS with ray tracing, and PS5 version will also support haptic feedback and the pressure-sensitive trigger capabilities. So if you have a DualSense controller or something like that, you can play it. So that's the tech stuff. But then I think this is one that's going to interest all of you probably that are watching right now. The biggest surprise is that we haven't forgotten our existing family. You guys have been here for a year now, and thank you so much for that. The PlayStation 4 and Xbox One players, existing players, will be able to upgrade to next generation consoles of this free on their respective consoles. So if you own it on PS4, you have a PS5, you're one of the lucky few, all of that. So existing Epic Store game players also on PC will get the 4K resolution and ray tracing and new creatures and mutation, so everyone can have a Trebum, like we always say, a Trebum for everyone. So all this will be broken down on our social channels in detail. I'm sure everyone's going to want to know all those little items in a FAQ. So we'll get the FAQ out for you so you can read about that shortly. So there are some questions that you guys have had previously in the last year, and maybe there's some things that you want to know answers on. So we're going to go into that a little bit. These are your common questions from the last year. Why don't we have endless mode? I know that we said we were working on endless mode, and we had influencers playing it in an early version of endless mode last year. So you did see that. There were a number of issues when attempting to design it kind of more permanently and added to the base game, and part of that was because the game had to be upgraded to Unreal Engine in the latest version. So that meant that some of the previous in-game processes weren't supported anymore. This had to be done if you wanted ray tracing and the other visual upgrades that I just mentioned that are so cool. So we had to make some hard choices there. So I know that's a thing people are asking about. But Carlos, do you have any thoughts? You want to share anything more about
Yeah,
that?
also the endless mode, honestly, the endless mode that we made for the influencers, which was kind of a event sort of thing, was built by sort of hacking a little bit some parts of the game.
There were faults.
When you are on short notice and you want to do some sort of a event for promoting the game or something, if it wasn't planned, because in game development, uh, everyone knows that getting something done so that it works, and getting something done so that you can actually send it to everyone so that everyone can test it, it's two very different things. So if you know, for instance, you're doing a prototype, and that prototype is going to be tested by a few people, or it's going to be tested by just an influencer, you have clear instructions of what to expect and what not to do. That the things surrounding that process become much more simple, because you understand that basically this is not going through a certification process. You're not doing extensive QA to see if the performance might break the game, because for instance, the endless mode, we were like spawning a ton of creatures into those specific areas, and that would have required us to make sure that what's going to happen with people with the lower spec systems. Is it the game going to crash, or we didn't have memory leaks, or whatever? So it's different when you're actually doing something. That doesn't mean that we can't do it, but it means that it requires more time. Mm.
Did you guys hear me there? There was like a blip. I'm not sure if you heard the
I
microphone going on.
I heard
Carlos
her.
can hear me, but I don't know if chat can hear me. So I'm going to say that question again because I don't think chat heard me. So Rafik 4K, can I somehow transfer the game to the Steam library after the release of TEC in Steam from the Epic Games launcher. No, you have to get the game on Steam if you want to play it on Steam. But I was telling you guys that if you have existing saves on Epic Store and you have your family, you don't want to lose your Trebum, you don't want to have that overwritten. If you get the game on Steam, it will not overwrite your stuff. But we do have like a way for you to get your saves from Epic into Steam. We're going to have a little walkthrough for you. But that's going to be later on. So, you can do that. As we get closer, we'll explain all that too. So there we go. Okay, next question. What about New Game Plus? We were talking about that a bit last year, trying to implement that into the game. So one of the ways that New Game Plus is important is because a lot of you already played the whole game, and this provides an incentive to return and experience difficulty scaling for subsequent runs. So this was a challenge that took a long time to address. It was worked on really hard, but it was not able to be done for this version of the game. As always, if a lot of people are really interested and we have a lot of people purchasing the game, we can relook at that in the future, but this is not something that was able to happen here. So Carlos, do we have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think that the main thing to say about the things that were requests from the community and things that we worked on, we had to kind of deal like because we had a plan of what things we wanted to do. There was new content that was obviously no one knew that we're going to work on new creatures or that we're going to do. There are a lot of fixes and stuff that people actually they won't come in a list that are minor improvements and stuff. So you always have to balance basically what the requests are. And in the case of many of these things that we did talk about, they did get to the point where we advanced enough that they were testable, but not on time to actually get them through proper QA for the entire console. Now it's many consoles, and now it's 4 consoles that would need to be tested with these. So it doesn't mean that we're not doing it ever, but it means that we had to prioritize specific tasks and yeah.
Cool. Okay, so the next one you guys ask a lot is multiple saves. So we know you want to be able to keep your Trebum tribe, safe, and we are looking at this in the future. The number of save slots has not been increased. However, we have increased the number of checkpoint saves. So if something happens unexpectedly, you can resume your play, or some of you can just roll it back before your family gets hurt. So that checkpoint saves will be increased on that, but not the number of save slots. So, FYI.
Yeah. In that case, again, adding multiple saves is this structural change to the. It's not a simple one, though it might sound. It could potentially break some stuff, so it's something that required to be dealt with more carefully.
Okay, and then this one's asked a lot too. Will the achievements be fixed on Xbox and PlayStation? There's currently some broken achievements, some issues with achievements. So yes, players will get a free update to your existing versions on PS4 and Xbox One once the next generation console versions come out. So if you're playing on a next generation console, you'll be upgraded to that version, which includes 4K and ray tracing. And Generation 8 console players will receive new content. This update will resolve all the blocks that you're talking about, and then all of that should be fixed when this happens. So wait until October 13th, and then let us know. Hopefully that does resolve the issues. Okay. So what content is included? We've gone over this. I know we're mentioning a lot of things. There will be a FAQ. It is a little bit confusing. So let's just summarize it real quick. New Anniversary Edition coming out on October 13th. To Steam and consoles. It has the game from last year, 2 new creatures, additional functionality to the fire trunk or pyrogenic trunk mutation, visual enhancements, new option for 4K for consoles or ray tracing on PC and consoles to make the world even more gorgeous for you. So that's the new stuff. Thank you guys for that. Now, we also want to celebrate all of the awesome stuff that's happened through the last year, and especially our community, who's been just amazing. And so we want to talk about some of our best moments and some of the first things that we've shared. So, Carlos, let's talk about this one. This is, of course, important for us. This one, the Gold Master. Now, for those who don't know what that is, our little golden Trebum, can you talk more about the Gold Master and kind of how that felt to achieve that? That was a big milestone for us.
Yeah, that was a very big milestone, especially for this project. For those who don't know, like the history of the studio, Eternal Cylinder is actually the longest in development title that was ever made at Ace Team, and that's pretty significant. It was a project that started from basically a small artistic vision prototype sort of thingy where we had like the cylinder, a couple of Trebum running around, and the vision of the game was represented in something relatively small, and we had to like create this massive, giant, open-ended world with everything destructible with a cylinder. So the technical challenges for, I would say, this is definitely the most difficult game we've ever done from a point of view of technical challenges in terms of of getting squeezing the performance of the consoles. Uh, like getting all the different things working. So it was quite quite an achievement getting there and getting the game out.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about awards, but Camilla was asking if the Steam version will get mod support. It's not something I think we even talked about or had planned. I don't know, Carlos. Is that a thought?
No, it's not something that it's launching with. It could be something that we could look at again in
Okay.
the future.
Strange Clouds 99 says, my son is 8 years old and beat this game on his own. He loves it. Thank you for making an awesome game. Aw, that's so nice.
My son, I have an 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, and they ask me all the time to play. But for me, it's like a little bit like work, like oh,
Oh,
because I only see everything that I see is like, oh, maybe this creature, its food placement didn't do exactly what I wanted it to. I'm gonna write down a little bug.
oh, I see. You can't just enjoy it because it's
Yeah.
speaking to you. No, I get that. Um, Dark Edge TV says, achievements. Will there be Steam achievements too?
Yes, the Steam achievements are basically a parallel to the achievements that were on the console versions of the game. I don't remember if the Epic game. I think the Epic version had the achievements. I have to go confirm with it. But yeah, but
Yuri,
yes,
Yuri is asking technical questions. I'm going to throw this at you. So you get the new engine version on the Xbox, a performance mode, a 4K mode, and a HD ray tracing mode, correct?
yes. That we had to move the game on to. So basically, I don't want to get super technical, but basically, the original game launched on Unreal Engine 4.24, and in order to support ray tracing, we had to move to Unreal Engine 4.27. That may sound as a minor thing, like oh, you just update the engine, but that was actually months of work. It was pretty significant because you're not only basically having to move your existing code to a new engine. Some parts of our code were very custom made. So, for instance, uh, okay, I'm not. I swear I'm not going to make this very technical, but for a good example is the landscape system. Basically, the terrain that appears on the entire game is based on the landscape code from Unreal Engine, and what we did is in order to support many of the different things that we had to do, for instance, biome blending. So, for instance, you're moving from the grassy biomes to the ice biomes, or from the desert to the infected, or whatever. We had to do like very specific code for the foliage, for the textures that blend into the environments. It's a pretty significant amount of work that when you move on from one engine version to the other, it explodes. Basically, you lose a lot of what was done there needed to be moved and like very carefully, and that process is done like it's very sensitive. So that's for instance one of the things that maybe people would ask about. Wait, maybe why weren't you maybe working more on features and some of the like invisible work that goes on in game development sometimes it has to do with just simply going on from an engine version to another. That's people won't see like immediate things, but that allows us, for instance, to have ray tracing.
Yeah, yeah, that's exciting. I mean, the game's already beautiful. I can't wait to like play it in that. So cool. All right, let's talk about a couple awards that we were. I mean, one, two, seven awards. Yeah, I think 7 awards for the game. Ones I was most excited about was the grand prize finalist for CMX McNally for IGF, and Excellence in Visual Arts finalist. Ooh, do you put like the awards on your wall with your little laurels?
We actually have a nice section in the office where we put the awards, and I really want to thank all the people who played this game and who has supported it, because it actually is, from our point of view, the the best, the highest rated and best, and the ones that's got the most notable awards, even if it's nominations, being nominated for one of the best, basically at the IGF, one of the top 6 indie games of the year, was huge. That's something we didn't expect. It was amazing, and visual arts is also a very great compliment to all the efforts of the art and design team of the studio. And yeah, it's been just amazing getting all these recognitions.
Yay, good. Okay, well, speaking of art, we have some. The community, you guys are, wow, really talented. And one of our favorites, by the way, in the chat right now at Dark Edge TV, Rebecca, this was a really great one. They won a contest with the Hypertongal Grapplet concept art. So there were
Yeah,
several of these that were really amazing, actually, but
yeah,
this was great. Just you guys are so talented just in the community. Yeah.
yeah. I remember these were amazing. The amount of work that some I've seen come from the community, and I'm not talking only about the people who have done concept art or renders, or I've seen people who had birthdays made
Yes, that was so cool.
that was so cool, like
Trebum
with a
birthday.
long cylinder done, and
Yes, yes.
there's a lot of people who've done little mini sculptures, and yeah, it's amazing when you see that your work basically affects people enough that they're interested in making their own stuff, and that's really amazing.
Let's look at this one, which is a community favorite by Meeplore. This is the Trebum Dance. So this one is used a lot in our Discord.
I
I
remember.
love this
I
little
think we
guy.
use it all the
Do
time.
you? Nice. A question from chat, Mr. Fish. Will we ever see DLC or some form of extended story? Yeah, I mean, all we can say is, the reality of situations are, the more people are interested in it, the more people that buy the game, the more people that support the project, the more options we have in the future to give you awesome stuff. So I'm sure Carlos's brain is buzzing with all sorts of great things that he could put in to future content, more
or a sequel,
more
or
weird
a
stuff, more nightmares
or
of.
more nightmares, or a sequel.
Oh,
Maybe.
or a
I
sequel.
don't know.
Okay, okay, there you go. So yes, so the best answer is if you want to see more stuff, share it with your friends. Make sure more people know about it. That definitely helps kind of get there for you. So okay, so trebum is a big important word. We do not say trebums, we say trebum in the community in plural because the community is very intent on doing that. So we will fix that if it's anywhere. But there's been a lot of memes about this stuff, and one of them is that we must speak organized, which Sarah Miss, I believe, was the one to say it first. And I love this phrase. We use this in the community a lot. We must speak organized when people get out of hand. Very important. Okay, so let's see. Another one that I like is "You Shall Not Pass" because, gosh, these guys in game are quite aggressive and they're fun. Fun to choose you.
That's funny. We
Okay.
actually had a joke in Rock of Ages of "You Shall Not Pass."
Oh, good. See, it's
So
transitioned over.
yes, it's transition from one game to the other.
Okay, now this is one of my favorites. Is there was a really big debate about this, and I honestly don't remember who started it, but it was how does the mathematician wear trousers? This was
Ah,
a
yes, I
real
remember.
thing. So this was the question, and then there was options. So this was one option. Option one, all trouser. Option two was little trouser. And then they were asking very biological questions with this one. And then option three, or I guess that's it. That option three is this one, which is not showing right now. That one, this one, and that one. So I guess that's it. You just either wear it on your little parts or you wear it all the way around. So which one do we think? Is there like a favorite option there?
I think it definitely has to be with the full
The
pants.
full pants? Okay.
Yeah,
Official dub answer. Full pants is
I
how.
think he wears the full pants. I would.
There you go. And also, the community is really into this. I don't know where this phrase came from. I think that we have a lot of children or people like me who enjoy this type of humor. But the poopin' fartin' was a type of trebum, which is the tongued trunk, regenerative body, stealth legs, analytical eyes, and third eye mutation because it looks so weird, right? So they called it this, and it's actually made it into our wiki as an official name for a type of trebum.
I think that's the combination. I mean, the Trebum are cute and they're funny, but if you are gonna go with all the strangest mutation and combine them, you get these very weird looking ones. I think I might be able to. Yeah, I think that's if I were to choose the try to make the weirdest looking one, I think that would be pretty high on the list.
Definitely true. Okay, and then some of you made your own Trebum because you just couldn't wait for us to make physical goods. And that is a comment we get a lot. We have been looking into different things. We haven't found the right partner for physical goods, but you guys decided to just do that yourselves. And so here's a really cool one by Labus showing their Trebum families. They had all these names for their Trebum family, and there they are. And then even with pipe cleaners, you guys got creative. And so this was Godzilla who made this one, which
Oh wow,
it
this
looks
is
like
new. I hadn't seen
you
this
hadn't
one.
seen this one? This is a good one. It
Wow.
looks very fuzzy. Like he looks like a
Yeah,
soft, nice one to hug.
yeah. That's it. I never thought someone would make a hug me mathematician.
Hug me.
That's kind of new.
I can't sleep at night without my mathematician. Okay, so then OneEyed Raven, who has been promoted to a moderator in chat for all their amazing community responses and help, and probably doing the chat right now, dictating this for people that want to read it. So this was one of the creatures, the cool models that they made, and it's honestly really hard to tell them apart from like the game images. So here's like a game image on the
Wow.
top, and then the creations on the bottom. So pretty
No,
awesome.
those are incredible. I've seen these the video. I think it's these that they show. They in Twitter they had the video where they
Yes, they were showing the
all the little
making of.
Miko, the making of. No, those I find them amazing, like
Yeah, so
incredible.
good. Okay, and then the last couple, we had some fun like stream events, some fun moments. I think just you and me spending last year in stream. Here's some of the favorites that people had. This is the Trebum Olympics. So do you remember
Nasty.
when we were
Yeah.
doing? We're calling it the Trebum Olympics, but you were showing us like if the creatures fought each other, who would survive, and I call it the Trebum Olympics. And so here they are, like just trying to take each other out, and you just watching them like take each other. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then we
Yeah.
had this one, which was this. We called it the Summer Games. I did, but there was wrestling. So then they're all fighting each other because you just spawned them all to see what would happen.
Yeah, these are all coming from our test maps where we would put in many creatures and see what would go on, and we would test performance and everything. But you get carried away, and basically,
Well, you can't not do
there's
that. That seems like the fun part of
yeah, you sort of start goofing around with we had situations where we would spawn. Like for instance, there's an interesting anecdote about a bug that was present in the game for a very long time. We just couldn't get rid of it, which was that the player and some enemies, even smaller ones, would actually go through the terrain at times, which is
oh.
not something you want. So you would actually, I think this happened in the early versions of the beta. You would be rolling around in the terrain and you would like have a big jump, and then you would, as you were landing, you would go through the terrain. And there is a code in the game that basically pops you above ground if you go beneath a certain amount, and you basically don't lose. Like this kind of bug is very present in video games, even the best ones. Didn't happen in Last of Us 2. So if it fails, then we're all allowed to fail. But we had to figure out how we're going to fix this because it was happening more than we wanted. So we made actually a kind of a hole on the ground, and we started spawning. I would say not thousands, but hundreds of glip balls, and we started throwing them into this hole. And then we would get beneath the terrain and start seeing how many of them sprinkled through. because when you have one instance or a couple of creatures, you can. It's hard to replicate the issue, but when you have hundreds of them, and you would actually see the terrain from beneath, and then you start seeing it's like a little drips of glick balls going through it. Hmm, there's something wrong here. And what's the next thing you're gonna do if you have a giant swimming pool of glick balls? You're gonna throw a giant monster inside, and
Of
then you get
course.
some sort of chaos, and the whole engine explodes because maybe you're using way too many resources for this, and it wasn't meant to be to do that. But that's part of the fun of making games.
Awesome. Okay, do you have any moments you want to remember that you can think of that were favorites? Otherwise, I think we're close to wrapping up.
Oh, I have so many. I remember we had a Trebum like basketball thing with
Yes.
some hoops, and you had to. I think you had to throw. Yes, we had these bouncy mushrooms,
Mm-hmm.
and you were able to throw some like ingredients, and we made like this sort of really silly mini games. uh, Anyone whoever wants to play around with stuff, and the Unreal Engine is really cool for like just goofing around with stuff. It can be so fun sometimes, just things with physics and just playing around with them. Um, but yeah, that was really
Awesome.
fun.
Okay, well, you guys have had a lot of news today. Again, thank you for watching the stream and for continuing to support the game. We have an amazing community, and I just really laugh every day looking at the things you guys put in there and memes and the best of the server and even the like off-topic stuff and real creatures. There's lots of great content coming in there. So please do join Discord if you haven't before. It's wonderful over there. And wishlist the game on Steam if you're interested. That would be very helpful to us for sure. And we're going to have updates going out on the Steam page as well, kind of talking about a lot of the things we're doing here, etc. So make sure that you do that. And I think we should go out with the trailer because it's a very nice trailer. Let me put the
Yes.
trailer on.